Hello and welcome to Anfield Index for the latest Late Night Live episode. I'm joined this evening by Lola. I was just saying in the green room, Liverpool have won a game of football away from home. Hope you're well, Lola, and what a win.
I don't know, I don't know how to react because I really wasn't, you do preparation when you're doing assignments like this, and I fully prepared for a Liverpool defeat, which feels very, very pessimistic to say. But yeah, I actually watched it with the sound off because sometimes I just can't bear Ali McCoist. So I genuinely feel a real mixture of emotions. But yeah, obviously delighted to get the win.
Yeah, so Reds, if you are watching on the repeat or if you're watching live, do let us know your player of the match as well. Who stood out for you tonight, of course, as everyone knew, Sunderland's unbeaten at home this season. A lot of teams have struggled, but I think obviously Liverpool's bar so far this season is very low, as we all speak about tonight. But I think we certainly did raise the bar a bit more higher anyway tonight, Lola. But in terms of straight to get to your man of the match, who was your man of the match really that stood out for you tonight? Who do you think really impressed you?
Well, it genuinely would have been Wataru Endo if he hadn't come off. I just thought he was magnificent. You could see from the very start, even hours before kickoff, you were seeing the pictures of people arriving in Sunderland, and it looked grey as anything, horrible, rain pissing down, wind blowing around the stadium, and I was just thinking, God, this is not a night for how we've played this season. And then Endo shows up. I think it was his first Premier League start of the season, and just grafts his bollocks off, wins every tackle. I mean, I may be exaggerating here. It might not have been every tackle, but it felt like he got his head on everything and won everything, and just was willing to play the game on Sunderland's terms and was willing to win the physical fight. So it absolutely would have been him if he hadn't come off injured. And, he probably still is my man of the match. But then the other guy that deserves a massive shout out is Ibu Konate, who has not had the best of seasons. We don't know how much he's been affected by what's going on with his family, but since he came back from that compassionate leave, he's not put a foot wrong. He was excellent against Manchester City on Sunday, and he was excellent tonight and really relished that physical battle with Robbie and came out on top. So Ibu Konate would be my man of the match, closely followed by Wataru Endo.
Yeah, sorry, we should have started the show. My fault anyway. There's obviously a start 11, as Lola's alluded to. Endo coming in out of the cold, really, and that's Lola and Reds. That right back berth is just absolutely utterly cursed, isn't it? What's going on? It's so many. But whoever goes right back, I think even if Ali went right back this season, he'd get injured as well.
But you know what, Jack? You know who's never going to play right back for Liverpool this season?
Go on.
Calvin Ramsey. He's never going to play.
Oh yeah. Obviously, you and Grace, and obviously everyone on the Red Room chat. You haven't listened to the Red Room podcast. What are you doing? Obviously, Grace, Lola, and Lewis, and Michael, and obviously Mo this week spoke about the right back berth. So I won't spoil it. Go and check it out. Anyway, a very, very fine debate over there. Anyway, but for me, I'll quickly get to my man of the match. I concur with your analysis on the Ibu. We'll have a quick look in terms of his data, and then we'll go through the first half and then second half. But I think with the Ibu Konate at the minute tonight, chat, in terms of accurate passes, 88, which is always the centre half tend to have a big high percentage. But in terms of the crucial interceptions, obviously accurate long balls, not the greatest tonight, but in terms of his tackles, 2 crucial tackles tonight. Last man tackles 1, blocks 1. Those 2 statistics are very critical, as we'll speak about the second half a bit later anyway. But yeah, header clearances 2, interceptions 2. Aerial duels 1, 5 out of 6, 83 percentile 1. Ground duels 1, 3 out of 3. That's what you want to be seeing from your centre halves as well. But yeah, imperious, and especially when you go, Lola, to not just any opposition, but especially the new promoted sides. I don't know how much of you watched the Sunderland this season, Lola, but their physical prowesses, when I've been watching as a neutral, is one of their biggest facets that really stands them apart from other teams, especially how a big factor to why they've been undefeated at home this season.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that game, the game that they drew with Arsenal, and I think it was actually when Ballard scored for 1-0, and I just Jesus Christ, I am dreading the day that we have to go there because, like I was saying, earlier, the conditions, the injuries, the fatigue that we had in the final stages against Man City, Szoboszlai being banned, it all fed into this looking like a huge banana skin. And they've been so physical, and particularly in that Arsenal game, I remember watching them and thinking, I don't know how we would contain this physicality, because obviously Arsenal are, I don't know how you feel about Arsenal, Jack. They're right around the corner from me, so I have a healthy disdain for them. But they're probably the most physical team in the league, and it looked like they couldn't contain Sunderland. So I was really, really worried about that. And to see those stats that you've just shown there of Konate winning, I think it was 3 out of 3 ground duels. I think that just he just rose to the challenge of dealing with Brobbey, and Brobbey's been a handful for lots of defenders so far this season. But Konate just, sometimes I think that contact, like sometimes you get a big man up against him, like a Chris Wood, for example, and he looks like he can't really deal with the cuteness of a player like Chris Wood. But I think sometimes the really physical players, like your Haalands and your Brobbies, it seems like he really relishes that contact, and that's often where you see some of his best performances.
Yeah, 100%. Reds, let us know your thoughts. We'll obviously mention Endo. We'll go into obviously the second half and the big moments from Ibu and Virgil as well. But firstly, we'll go straight into the first half analysis. Lola and Reds. Looks interesting statistically. The commentators were saying tonight, but I think didn't even need the commentators to mention it. But I think we could all straight away. Oh, sorry, there, Chas. That's the whole game. There we go. So in terms of the first half performance, Lola, statistically, Liverpool's best away in respects to the obviously not big chances, but in respect to total shots, more possession as well. But it's that total shots figure. Liverpool were milling around the penalty area, I'd say the least anyway. But your analysis on the first opening 45?
I think we weathered, I wouldn't call it an early storm, but we obviously did weather like a spell of pressure from Sunderland in the opening minutes. I mean, I walked in, I got my dinner ready and walked in 30 seconds in, and they were having their first long throw in of the game, and I thought, here we go. But we kind of pushed through that, and then it was actually very relaxed. We were sort of camped out on the edge of their area, keeping possession. I think probably what feeds into my sense of frustration about tonight, which feels mad to say given we've won, is the number of chances that I feel we had. And obviously in the first half, it's 0.8 expected goals. So you would really think that, with the number of chances we created, that we should have scored a goal. And I think I came off at halftime feeling frustrated. And then in the closing moments, which we'll come on to obviously in the second half, but I don't really feel like Liverpool took their chances. And I felt like that a lot in the first half and a little bit towards the end of the second half. So the control was really good to see. But I don't know about you, Jack. I have been quite worried about our wastefulness in front of goal this season. And I was worried going in at 0-0, thinking, have we kind of spurned our best period of the game to get ahead?
Yeah, that's probably been the most frustrating factor then. The Ekatike chance against Manchester City. We could all list a load of big moments. It doesn't help when you've not got no Isaac or a bit more. You haven't got Luis Diaz to come off the bench as well. But yeah, 100%, miss. It's one of them. Looking at Sunderland, at Rob, as you mentioned, Robbie obviously is low expected 0.11 expected XG, but obviously I'm pretty sure that would have been Ibu or Van Dijk. One of them anyway would have got a block on that. But in terms of their only shot on target in the first opening 45 was a shot from range from like 35 yards. And from a defensive analysis point of view, that's exactly what you want. Really very compact, being solidifying that defense, and that's what you want, as we've alluded to, the aerial bombardment that's done them. But that's a bit more for me personally. To I know obviously everyone's a bit down in the dumps in respect to watching Liverpool this season, but you've little crumbs really. You've got to look to try and get got to look to some positives really. For me, is they're the little things that we can build off, but it's not.
This isn't a little crumb tonight. I mean, like like I say, I do have mixed emotions on the final whistle because I think, even Salah, he had a chance, if not in stoppage time, it was like the 90th minute. And last season, we both know that goes in last season. And I think so. It's obviously not a perfect Liverpool performance, but the bottom line is Sunderland are unbeaten at home all season. They've pushed Arsenal, who are the champions elect, all the way in that game at the Stadium of Light, and probably could have nicked it. So it's no small feat to win that game. But yeah, I do think we can take the positives, but I think we should keep our feet on the ground, because how many false dawns have we had this season?
Yeah, I was talking about Villa, and chat told me to shut up tonight on the watch along. It was like 10 points ahead. Shut up, McIndoe. I was like, yeah. As soon as he got the win, I was like, yeah, sounds 10 points ahead of us. But yeah, so just looking at the shot map as well, for any the audio listeners as well, we're having a look at the shot map in first the opening 45 minutes. Liverpool, from those 14 total shots, for Liverpool, only 2 were on target. That's where we can improve, and we should certainly be improving in terms of creating those better, clear-cut opportunities. So 2 shots on target. Well, the shot that technically not on target did hit the post anyway from Florian Wirtz. That's, for me, Lola, when I'm analysing, I watch a fair bit of him in the Bundesliga. He thrives in those little pockets of space, whether that's off the left-hand channel or that situation in the first half. For me, he's just so cute with the way in which he changes direction, whether that be on his right foot, his left boot. But yeah, just that opportunity, probably Liverpool's best opportunity the first half. Like, could he have done better for you, or do you think he done well to manoeuvre that chance?
When I first saw it, I thought he's done really well to get the shot off, and that's a very typical Florian Wirtz effort, which is, we all know he doesn't kick the leather off of football, and sometimes I wish he would, but it was a good effort. And then I saw the replay, and I thought actually he had more time. And there's me sitting there saying Florian Wirtz should have done better, but I do think that he had more time than possibly he thought, and therefore potentially could have got it on target. But yeah, he was the, if we're talking about, man of the match performances, I think, under the circumstances, in the rain, and with the type of team Sunderland are, you've got to look at Endo and Konate. But Florian Wirtz is such a big reason why we won that football match, because in the first half, he's the one that picked up the tempo and became a problem that Sunderland just couldn't live with. And no, it hasn't counted on the scoreline, but I think he was what took the game away from Sunderland, and towards Liverpool.
Yeah, it's obviously, we just mentioned the shots that hit the post as well, but as you alluded to, his shot on target was Liverpool's probably the power, the execution. I'd like to see a bit more from Flo, in terms of, as you can see from the shot map, a shot from the left-hand side of the penalty area, a shot from Liverpool, a shot on target from the edge of the box, attempt saved, and on another night that flies into the back of the net anyway. But Roof's a tremendous goalkeeper, signed the season for Sunderland, 8 clean sheets. So he's been tremendous for them in terms of consistency. But yeah, obviously Liverpool, of course, as we mentioned, the bar is very low at the minute, but we've got to start from somewhere, and we can start doing better in terms of creating better chances. But from a defensive structural point of view, 1 shot on target for Sunderland in the first opening 45 minutes is small steps anyway. But in terms of the second half, Liverpool grew into the game ever so slightly. But as we expected, Sunderland coming out, being the home side, the crowd weren't best to please. They're not quite used to seeing a Sunderland side go 1-0 down anyway, and obviously get beat tonight. But in terms of anyone watching or listening anyway, total shots for Sunderland second half, 9 to Liverpool's 9, 1 shot apiece. So in terms of neutral, not best who pleased. Very stark contrast to the quality that was on show last week with Liverpool and City. But Lola, second half, were you happy with the way in which Liverpool approached it? Obviously, there was a little spell in the first 10 minutes in the second half for me. I think we were a bit ropey In terms of coming out. It's a bit of a theme for Liverpool this season for me in terms of coming out and just lack of concentration, really. But how did you gauge the beginning of the second half for you?
Well, I'm delighted that we saw it through, and I think looking at the statistics, it's one of those where you feel more nervous than you actually should be, because although they had 9 shots, it's just the one on target and no big chances missed. So I think that's important. Although there is the Konate block on Brobbey, which that's
crucial.
a big chance. It's not registered as such, but that is a big chance. But I think I was quite frustrated with Liverpool's second half, because I think in the first half we showed very clearly, as we should, our superiority to Sunderland. And, so much credit has to go to Sunderland for the way that they've recruited and the way that they've attacked this Premier League season. But we grabbed the initiative first half and showed our quality. And then second half, it felt like we got dragged into one again. And then in the kind of closing stages, I've never really felt this season that the players have given up. I felt like they've always been fighting, but I saw a lot of situations where they were having to fight more than they really should have, because their quality should have won the day. And like McAllister, for example, there were examples where he'd give the ball away and then he would run backwards and win the ball back and get big high fives off Konate and Van Dijk. And you're just thinking, actually, you could have navigated around that situation if you just kept the ball better. And then obviously, I'm sure we'll come on to talk about it, but 2 big chances missed in the second half there. I think my big frustration is that Liverpool didn't put the game to bed. The Hugo Ekitike header, the Salah shot, there were other opportunities where we were in down the sides and didn't pick the right pass. So weirdly, for a game that we won, I actually come out of it with quite a lot of frustration.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where we need to be building to as well. I think I've got to mention Gakpo as well, like a lot of Liverpool fans. It's not me just signaling them out. There was a moment in the second half when you picked up on a load of Reds. I was screaming on the watchroom, just the lack of closing down, lack of helping Robbo on the edge of his own penalty box, whether it's fatigue, whether it's just a bit of lack of concentration or just a lack of just not wanting to close down the ball. But yeah, as you said, there's been many of occasions, and especially tonight, one hit the nail on the head in terms of when Liverpool did go forward, the one shot on target, not good enough, really. But what do you put that down to? Who in terms of was slowing down those attacks for your point of view? In terms of when we were getting on the edge of the box, was there a lack of central movements, positional wides, stretching the team? That's on the back line. What was it for you?
Well, let's set Cody Gakpo to one side for a minute, because we should definitely talk about him. But I want to talk about Hugo Ekitike, who I thought had a difficult afternoon against Manchester City on Sunday. He obviously missed that chance. And I felt from the first half, he was already getting frustrated. He was gesturing at people, why haven't you passed to me? This, that, and the other. I was quite disappointed by some of his off-the-ball work. I didn't feel like I feel like sometimes his pressing can just be so ineffective because he neither commits to it.
He was putting his hands up a load of times, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I felt like he was playing on the edge with this frustration. And then it was either the beginning of the second half or end of the first half. He does a lovely bit of skill to get away from the defender and runs into space up the flank and then just gives the ball away. And I just felt like he played a bit selfish tonight. I felt like he was frustrated with everybody else and, wasn't really kind of grafting in quite the same way that everybody else was. And then, obviously missed the big chance. So I think the problem is I was looking at it and it's like, you and I know how good Ekitike has been for us this season. But he's not on the same wavelength as Salah yet. He has been on the same wavelength as Florian Wirtz, but he wasn't tonight. And he's not on the same wavelength as Cody Gakpo. And sometimes I feel like you get the 4 of those guys playing as individuals, and it doesn't really matter how individually good we know they all are. It's just missing that final moment. And Salah as well. It's hard to watch him at times this season because I keep watching him thinking, last season he'd pick up the ball in a pocket space on the edge of the penalty area and you'd be sitting there being like, I know something's going to happen. Then it just gets blocked every time this season. I keep thinking it can't possibly get worse, and then somehow it does. So I think the bottom line is with our attacking play is not very good finishing, but also not playing as a unit. not understanding each other's games and being on the same wavelength, which I would say is the biggest problem.
Do you expect that to come at the end of the season? Or we're hoping it comes anyway, in terms of the communication, the connection between the forward line? Or
I don't know,
do you think
because
it will take a couple more weeks?
I think this is just. I think Ekatike and Wirtz are 100% the future of our attack. You know, and Isak when he's back from injury, and those two will. I'm delighted that they've already formed a relationship. You know, they've assisted each other 6 times already. But I don't. You know, you and I probably don't think that Mo Salah will be playing for Liverpool next season. And Cody Gakpo, who has absorbed a hell of a lot of stick this season, and we should say he
done well last year. He contributed really well, like goals and assists.
Absolutely. He's Cody Gakpo. Liverpool don't win the title last season without Cody Gakpo. So he deserves a lot of credit. But I think, you know, we're using him, Slot's using him really badly this season, because he was at his best when he was dovetailing with Luis Diaz, and they were offering very different things, and that was problematic for defenses. This season he's been hung out to dry a bit because he is a one-trick pony, and if you start him every game, then people are going to know what he's going to do. So I think, I don't know. I don't know if it will click with this group of players, and I have massive concerns about Salah's form because it's really been dreadful all season.
And it's a lot of wages, though, Lola and Chas. He's on mega bucks, isn't he? Highest paid, biggest player, one of the biggest players in Europe, and not just the Premier League as well. But in terms of, as I mentioned, I put it on my notes before as well, that, as you alluded to, that for me, it was the positional play out wide. And just looking at Cody Gakpo's lack of, as you alluded to, the lack of quality when he got it tonight. Accurate crosses, 1 out of 8. Accurate long balls, 1 out of 1, but that was probably a corner or a long 40-yard ball anyway. Successful dribbles, 1 out of 2. And just, not just Cody, but whoever facilitates down that left-hand side. There was an era of Reds that grew up watching John Barnes mincing opposition defences. We obviously the days of Sadio Mane and his pomp as well. Like, they're the levels of this football club. Of course, Hugo's he's only 26. He's got plenty of years ahead of him. But as you said, some of the criticism has been very harsh from Cody. But I think not just from Cody, but I think we're wanting more from every single Liverpool player. But for me, Lola, it's not just tonight, but the last couple of weeks, but mainly tonight when we did get the ball. For me, I don't know how you felt. It was when we did get the ball out wide, just a lack of the final killer ball. But some of just the pointless crosses into the penalty box, I felt, was against Better's opposition, as we found out against Manchester City. A sloppy counter-attack that led on to the City winner as well, the penalty and the breakaway. Just Better's opposition tonight would have been punished, as we were last week. But how did you feel about the Liverpool's build-up on the edge of the penalty area, or just any other players that we haven't mentioned as well in terms of Liverpool's attack?
Just one stat I want to highlight on the Gakpo stats is the 2 blocked shots, because that's the really infuriating thing. Is he was set up, I think, by Florian Wirtz, gets the ball in the pocket, times the pass to perfection to when Gakpo has maximum space. Gakpo squares up the defender, cuts inside and takes the shot, and it's blocked, and that's an opportunity wasted. And I think that is so incredibly frustrating as someone watching at home. And you and I mean, I don't know about you, Jack. You might be a professional footballer. I don't know. But
no, I've got 2 left. I've got 2 left feet anyway.
It's harsh. It's harsh to say these things about an elite footballer operating at the highest level of the game. But the fact is, if you and I sitting at home know he's going to cut inside and shoot, then the fullback definitely knows. And I think it's just so telegraphed and frustrating. And especially when there's been really good work from Florian Wirtz to get into that situation, then it's more frustrating that we don't go on and make the most of it. And I think that was happening all night. It was happening all night, especially Wirtz was kind of the victim of it, because he would, pick out an intelligent pass in space, pick someone out in space. And then Salah and Gakpo on both flanks were really offering him very little, and Ekatike had one of his more wasteful nights. So I do really agree with you. I think I mean, I'm surprised to see that their ratings are as high as they were, because watching the game tonight, it felt like if Liverpool had a Sadio Mane or a Diaz even on either flank, that we actually could have gone on and won that game quite comfortably.
Yeah, 100%, Lola. Chas, let us know your thoughts. We're going to go for another 5 more minutes anyway. Obviously, but yeah, as Chatty alluded to, a couple of people mentioned Sam saying on the live comments, good defense, offense abysmal as well. Yeah, we need to improve, and certainly the hold up play, Ekatike. I think we all need to see a bit more in terms of. Well, he's still a young lad, 23 anyway. He's got plenty of great years ahead of him. But it's just still again a learning curve, but a spot on point with, as you mentioned, with Viet. If he gets his head up, and then I think body language on a football pitch is so important as well. Opposition, the crowd pick up on that as well. Like, it's so frustrating. We can analyze games of football even if we haven't played it as high as level. Every fan you don't have to play, but all of us as fans, we watch so much, consume so much minutes and hours of football, not just Liverpool, but every football. And when we analyse it, we can see it from a fan point of view, and it's spot on. If we can see it, then surely the technical and the people that get paid thousands of pounds, a lot more, to pick out these and improve it on a week-to-week basis should be identifying it, analysing it, and making it better for the week to come. Anyway, but Lola, we've mentioned obviously Endo, Kanate, obviously the two crucial blocks as well. The second half, obviously, we alluded to, but there was some intelligent defending and crucial defending from Kanate, especially in that second half. We need those two lads, not just tonight, but for the weeks and months to come. Anyway, but just your analysis on the back line, or anyone else that we haven't really touched on for you.
Well, I think Andy Robbo needs a shout out, because he was fantastic tonight, and I actually thought Kirkes did really well against Manchester City. So I was surprised. I was surprised Robbo started, but then actually when you factor in the conditions, how difficult of an opponent Sunderland are, it made a lot of sense to start Andy Robbo. I think actually Kanate and Van Dijk really benefited from having the experience of Endo and Robertson either side, because often you've seen Van Dijk this season compensating for the mistakes of others. And that's been Kanate at times, but it's, he pops up in spaces you don't expect to see him. And actually, it ends up reflecting really badly on Van Dijk, but it's not often. You can see that he's almost anticipating mistakes elsewhere. And I feel like tonight, Endo and Robertson were exactly where Van Dijk and Kanate expected them to be and wanted them to be. And there were a few times on the set pieces, on the long throws and the corners, you could see Van Dijk kind of communicating with Robertson, but it was actually very different. I've seen Van Dijk shouting at Kirkes, and I've seen him
screaming at him.
Yeah, and I've seen him shouting at Frimpong and Bradley, and I've seen him shouting at Trent back in the day. But there was a trust there and a security, and I think that spread across the whole back line and was a massive part of why we were able to restrict them to quite limited chances of high quality. So to a man, I think they did excellently, and I think Robertson deserves massive credit to come in and put a performance in that was that strong.
Yeah, a lot of people mentioned coming into this game, of course, the pressure on Arne Slot, or not just Arne Slot, anyone that is in the dugout, Liverpool Football Club, immense pressure. How would you analyse Arne Slot's game, the substitutions? Were they right tonight? Were you impressed by them, or do you think they could have been done a bit more earlier? Obviously, Jones come on a bit later in the game, and obviously Keita with 5 minutes left to go. But how would you analyse Arne, the way in which he approached the game tonight? Would you have wanted more, or
how good was Curtis Jones when he came on?
Just volume, people. That's what you need, isn't it? Like, that's what we've been crying out for, just slowing the game down and that. And
but also the skills, gliding about. He did like a lovely little back heel Cruyff turn thing that was gorgeous and looked physically confident, and also he could hold on to the ball in a way that would help us control the game in the closing stages. So I think the selection, I was a little bit concerned, because I thought Jones would start. We knew it was going to be a physical contest. I thought he'd probably start instead of McAllister. Maybe the plan was always to leave us with something on the bench if we were in a difficult situation. I also definitely think we could have made the change. Slot could have made the change earlier, because it felt like we were losing control a bit. And when Jones came on, it coincided with the game basically dying. You know, and you can tell, what you can really tell is that the players around Curtis Jones, Florian Wirtz, Mo Salah, they know what to expect from him, and they seem really reassured by his presence. So I think whatever's going on between Jones and the manager, I think that is quite a negative, because whether he stays or goes, and I'll be gutted if he goes, we could do with more Curtis Jones between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, you need that bite, you need that desire, and especially we did see that the last 20 minutes we needed to sit in tight and be a lot more defensively compact. It was a hard watch for all of us, of course it was. We don't want to be seeing, we want, as we mentioned already tonight, we want more game control. But yeah, Lola, I think chat, get your final comments in as well. Closing thoughts, Lola, and going into obviously the game on Saturday against Brighton in the FA Cup. And we've just got to, hopefully for me, I want to be seeing a bit more consistency if we possibly can across the board from Liverpool. But how do you feel?
Big win. This was a must-win game, you know, especially given United and Chelsea slipped up last night. Suddenly the table looks a lot better, 2 points behind Chelsea, and that gap really had quite suddenly started to open up on Sunday. So big win, and I don't want to sound overly negative, because I think the biggest frustration all season long has been how much more we know that there can come from this group of players. I think the FA Cup's almost welcome respite, because it's a cup tie. Brighton are going to come to play. We know they're going to play football, so just go and express yourselves, play football. You know, the cups are really important to us this season, but it's not that same relentless pressure of Premier League football. So yeah, just really hope that we can rest up. Hopefully, I don't know if there's anyone who's due to come back. I don't know how far off Frimpong is. If we could get any bodies back in, obviously Szoboszlai will be back. So maybe we could see, maybe Rio could come out of bench jail and get a start. Because
Trainioni as well. Like, he was on the bench at the lads, and even a couple more of the younger players. We've invested a lot in the previous window, and I don't know a lot about the younger players that we signed, but they're meant to be the top journalists. Highly rate them anyway. So yeah, we just got to start a bit of rotation. Would be nice, Lola, as well. But obviously your debut on Late Night Live, it'll be the first of many this season, hopefully. But yeah, hopefully you will be seeing a lot more of Lola. Been speaking to Eddie and the lads anyway. But yeah, if you obviously tune into the Red Room every Tuesday night with Grizz, Lola, Lewis, Mo, and all the lads over there as well. But Lola, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking the time out tonight. And yeah, it's much easier when Liverpool win games of football, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you, Jack. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, Reds, look after yourself. And yeah, we'll see you very soon on Anfield Index. Ta-da.